to these sounds. Plant down and lotus in a tempted ground. Knowing if I fail to lift the veil, I'm hellbound. Journey through the fate of all the hate I found. Done laying out the laments for these lames, big clowns. We can still throw down pound for pound if you choose to drag my name through the mud with no bounds. Scars go deep, but the passion can shift. Trying to find a balance between anger and bliss. Searching for my purpose when success is a myth. I thought I knew the gist of the plot, but it came with a twist. Had it all mapped out, but none of the pieces fit. Abandonment issues got me doing the split. Realizing I didn't really need what I wish. Got sick of getting tricked into giving the devil a kiss. Welcome to the side of hell. They got me under respect. Story to tell as soon as I break out of this shell. Welcome to the side of hell.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Paul to the Paranormal Vodcast. I hope everyone is doing really well. Tonight we have a great guest joining us, Psychic Medium Paul Cissell. We've been chatting with Paul for a little while now because we teamed up with him for a special Christmas event. So we thought it would be a great idea to bring Paul on, have a little chat with him, get to know him a little bit more about his background and how he got into the paranormal and also his psychic mediumship. He's done a lot over the years to help people, but not just by doing readings, medium nights. He's also teaching as well. So he is heavily involved in the spiritual side of things, and we're going to get to know more about him in a moment. As always, if you have any questions or you want to say hello, please put them in the comments and we will try our best to get through all the comments. But what I'm going to do is bring on Paul now and let's get into it. Hey Paul, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good evening.
Good.
How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us.
No, my pleasure.
Really excited about this one because we're going to find out a little bit more about you, but then towards the end, we're going to tell people about the platform mediumship night that we put on together, and it's what a great way to go into the Christmas period with a platform night. So, before I do so, I just want to say a few shout outs to people in the room. So we've got Anne from South Carolina. How you doing? Abby, she's in the room. She'll be there on the Psychic Medium night. So thanks for joining us, Abby. Elizabeth, how you doing? We've got Katie and Sarah in the room as well. So thank you everyone for joining. So let's kick this off, Paul. First question, most obvious question I'm going to ask you is, how did this all start for you? Where was your intro into the paranormal, or the psychic part of it all?
Well, you might laugh, but it was actually inside my mum's womb.
Okay.
I know it sounds a bit out there, but I have memories of being conscious at around about 5 months old in the womb and being able to be self-aware of things that were going on. Then at a later stage in life, when I was able to talk, I was telling my mum things about, things that she had watched on TV, things that she had done. And she would be saying, yeah, I don't know how you know this. You shouldn't know this. You were still in the womb. You wasn't even born. But yeah, I've got memories. So I guess you could say it started back there for me. But definitely, Mum said that the house was very quiet until she brought me home from the hospital. This is back in the 1960s. And she said then it just kind of illuminated with psychic phenomena all over the place after that.
Oh, wow. So that must have been, how did your mum deal with that then? Because back in the 60s and that, the paranormal, the psychic stuff it was like a taboo subject in a way, So do you remember how your mum would have dealt with that at the time?
Surprisingly, it wasn't. Yes,
okay.
It seemed that way, but it wasn't. Obviously, we have mainstream TV and the internet now, which brings it into everybody's world. But back then, behind the closed doors, people were very open to it. Now, my mum is, a true northerner, and she moved down south, and she came down with her family. It's a big family, and they came down with the northern traditions. And so she already believed in the supernatural herself. Her own grandmother was a medium in the Second World War and was quite well known in London, because by that point they'd moved down to London, and she was giving readings to people, you know, in the war herself. So my mum was kind of brought up with this a little bit, and so were her sisters.
Okay, so that must have been a great way to have family support then, because growing up then, how did you manage your abilities?
So you know, you said about the family support. My mum did her best to really keep it behind closed doors.
Oh, okay.
I've got two older brothers. They didn't even know what was going on.
Oh, really?
My dad knew, but he was kind of like, oh, you know, let's keep out of this one. And my mum made sure that, you know, everybody, you know, really she shielded me from it, you know, even her own family, you know, as much as she possibly could, as much as she could handle on, you know, on her own without kind of support. So so those psychic abilities were there from birth, as a small child, and I was using them, you know, as a small child. You know, if you've ever watched the movie Pet Sematary, as an 8-year-old child, I had my own pet cemetery exactly as it was in the movie, as you see it in that movie, kind of thing. So I already knew I was born with a kind of a natural understanding, if you like, and you know, I was never taught. I just knew how to do things. So yeah, so my home growing up, if you'd never gone down to the bottom of the garden, you would have found an ancient pit cemetery, and yeah, it was all done in a spiral shape. And as the pets passed away, you know, only talking about hamsters and mice and you know, even goldfish, they'd get buried, and then they would have a stone circle. And every day, as a small child, religiously, I would go down there and talk to them. So
wow. So it was like second nature to you then. So you didn't really need to teach yourself it. But how did it present? You know, was it a particular spirit that you're dealing with? Like, you know,
sorry,
is there
can
someone...
you say that again? You broke up. So
with your abilities, are you dealing with like a particular spirit that comes to you, like is it, they call it like what do they call it? Like a guardian angel, or is it your guides, psychic guides?
So it depends how I'm working. It depends how I'm working. So when I'm giving somebody a reading, or maybe I'm doing a demonstration of mediumship, oh, sorry, I've just read somebody's comment about my cute dog, and I mean, how do you know? And I just suddenly realised he jumped up on the sofa.
That's Nick.
Yeah, it depends how I'm working. Generally speaking, within my work as a medium, when it comes to straightforward readings, when it comes to an evening of mediumship, you know, on the stage, on the platform, it's direct spirit communication. So directly communicating with somebody's loved ones and making that communication, opening that door.
Wow. And with the communication, do you hear it as voice that they're talking to you, or do they give you images that you've pieced together what those images mean?
It's hard to explain how you actually work with spirits. Some people say that you do hear the voice. I believe that it is the own conscious mind creating the word from your memory. So what's happening is, the best way I can describe this is, imagine a telepathic link with someone else. So you and I now no longer using our words, but we are having a conversation using telepathy, mind thought. Yeah, it'd be pretty boring for all those watching, you know, because they wouldn't have a clue what's going on. They're just sitting there going, yeah, for the next hour or so. But you know, what the bloody hell's going on here, kind of thing. But yeah, so you're linking with their mind, with the energy of their mind, and you are feeling their thoughts, their impressions, and what you want to say. And one of the reasons why mediumship of any kind can be fragmented is that the medium isn't in total control of the communication, and there will, like translating any foreign language, there will always be a mistranslation, and it only takes a little bit. For example, yesterday I was giving a lady a reading, and I was talking about her granddaughter, and I kept saying her granddaughter was Izzy, and she's going, no. And I said, I can't get past Izzy. And then she said, no, that she gave me the name. She said, no, it's Maisie. I'm feeling it as Izzy, but the name is Maisie.
Okay.
So they sound the same, but I've got a slight discrepancy, you see, in how I've got the name across. I'm misunderstanding on my behalf.
Okay, no, that's understandable. And with this, do you ever look back and think to yourself, why was you chosen to have these abilities? Like, why are they so strong for you? Because I know a lot of people say everyone has the abilities. I don't necessarily believe that, because
Okay, so let's so let's talk about this for a moment then. So let's use me as the example. I'm going to talk about you in a moment. So I already knew my sole purpose to come down here, hence why I had this ability from birth. Yeah. Okay. So I already knew what my life purpose was going to be, even as a small child. Okay. Now, where we get confused as human beings is we believe that this is it. This is who we are. And we believe that this mind is running the show. I look at it, actually, no, it's not. It's only the processor. It's the equivalent of the processor in your computer that is maintaining everything. And down here, yeah, what is really in charge of the show is your spirit. Yeah. And your spirit, if you believe that we have a spirit, understands all of its past lives. It understands its present lifetime and the journey within that lifetime. And it understands our forward lifetimes as well. And the higher self, or the spirit, is endeavoring throughout our existence to try to connect with our human mind to make adjustments on our path, which kind of might come into the story of the angel and the devil sitting on your shoulder when you're in conflict as to what you should be doing. Yeah. Now, every single human being has a spirit. You cannot be here without a spirit. Yeah. Okay. Now, every single human being at some point in their lives, or at several points in their lives, does make communication. So every intuitive thought process you have, yeah, where you feel something to be so right and you follow it through, is you listening to your own spirit, your higher self, whether you've understood that process or not. Yeah. So everybody is doing it. Not everybody realizes they are doing it. So people say, oh yeah, I can't do what you do, but actually you are. And so is everybody watching this right now.
So you do believe everyone has the ability, regardless, and
absolutely. Yeah.
So for someone, so you say that we have the ability. So if I ask you, how can I open up that ability even more so I can feel more, or I can?
It's going to start here with your mind. Your mind is wired up from a young age with every experience that you've gone through. Yeah. And, within that journey, let's just make this up. There might be some kind of trauma, or trauma has happened. The mind builds up habits. The mind, builds up its own fears and insecurities and anxieties. And all of those human emotions get in the way and stop us from listening to our spirit or our higher self. So when I'm teaching my students, I don't teach them about going to spirit, because their spirit already knows what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm teaching my students about reconnecting with themselves and understanding their mind, developing their own mind. And once the mind becomes more developed and more attuned to listening to frequencies outside of itself, and once it starts understanding those processes, it will hear more. That's why we get stuck, because we just can't hear.
Okay. So we know, like, you know, a lot of the times kids grow up and they have these imaginary friends. You
Yeah.
know, we hear this quite a lot. So, in your opinion, do you think that these are not actually imaginary friends, that they're actually experiencing contact with spirits then?
You know, again, controversial subject. You know, is the child
Yeah.
making that up, or
Yeah.
is the child genuinely perceiving something beyond, you know, the adult's perception? So my understanding is that, so for when we're born, up until, say, let's round about 8 years old, we are more spirit than human. Once we start to kind of get towards 7, then the child is generally integrated into human society, you know, schooling, you know, playing with friends, building up patterns. You know, by then, anyone who's got children certainly knows children, you know how to twist every parent around their little finger and get their own way, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've learned those kind of habits. And so now they start to move away from that psychic side of them and focus on being more human, unless a child is hypersensitive and holds on to that process. Yeah. And so eventually then that human side of us takes over, and then, you know, we carry on, you know, through life whilst leaving, you know, the psychic centers, you know, behind, and not focusing on them as much.
Wow.
So yes, that's what I'm saying, is that then, you know, I had an imaginary friend, you know, that was there permanently. Yeah. And those imaginary friends, you know, do influence. And this is why I say to parents, when parents come to me and say, look, my child is talking to somebody, what do I do? I say, don't discourage it, because you don't want the child, if the child is being put into a vulnerable place, you don't want your child to close down on you because you're reprimanding them for it. I said, don't encourage it, but allow them to be able to talk to you if they feel vulnerable. Most of the time it will pass and go away without incident, but there's always those times when it doesn't. And I know my imaginary friend wasn't one that was quite sitting there going, oh, let's go for a little walk and sing songs together. Mine one was had intent there to cause harm.
Oh wow. So a bit of a different kind of experience that then altogether. Yeah. And you're saying it was intent to harm you then. Did that not put you off continuing this path then?
No, I think it made me stronger, if anything. I mean, my imaginary friend presented himself as a 10-year-old boy. Yeah, I felt very comfortable with him. But deep down, I knew that actually he wasn't a 10-year-old boy, and he was something else. So, you know, his intent was to emotionally weaken me, which is what a form of possession is a psychological attack designed to emotionally weaken a person to gain attachment to that person. And which is what he was doing, was coming in, I want to be your friend, we're going to have lots of fun together, and then the paranormal occurrences would happen continuously. And it was designed to put fear and to psychologically weaken me until such a time that he would be in a position, to attach himself.
And how did you get rid of that spirit then? How did you?
Fortunately, even as a child, I because I was so in tune with my own spirit, I knew what to do. So I knew what was going on. And in my own way, I was able to kind of defeat it myself. The paranormal occurrences did get quite severe. Now, bearing in mind, at this point, the original Exorcist movie had never come out. Amityville Horror movie has never come out. Any of those movies had never come out. But I was going through the haunting. So, you know, when you look back at my childhood, you know, I couldn't be influenced as a child by anything that I saw on TV, because I think the scariest it got on TV at that time was a black and white movie called The Hand or something, where there was a severed hand that crawled up the stairs, you know, and was trying to strangle people like this, and that was scary as a dog kind of thing.
Wow.
You know, so certainly as a child in my era, I couldn't be influenced by anything that was being, you know, played out on the TV. So a lot of what we're seeing on the TV, people go, oh, you know, it's just made up. But actually, a lot of these shows have done their research and have researched very well, in them.
That's quite scary to think that when you're watching it on TV, it's scary enough, you know, but to think that they're getting it from actual events that may have occurred is even scarier of a thought to think that. So, you know, that is crazy. I'm just going to turn it over to the audience quickly.
Yeah,
Paul.
sure.
Sarah's just asked a question. Do you recommend meditating to open up to our spirit guides?
Again, with the meditation, it's always a difficult one because here in the Western Hemisphere, we're not geared up for meditation. You know, we're running around with our daily lives, our work, you know, and sometimes it can be very hard to still our mind. Meditation is an excellent healing tool. I always say, if you're meditating and you haven't got the experience, go either with a guided meditation that you might find on YouTube, and there's some excellent ones, or maybe with a friend or someone who is a little bit more understanding, maybe even a meditation group, and join. So when I first learned about meditation, I joined a meditation group to keep me into a safe place. But yeah, it's a very good tool to open up to, you know, our guides, make that connection. Just make sure that you know what you're connecting to is all I say. Whereas I prefer to use meditation as a healing tool to calm the mind, to still it, to go on an inwardly journey and create an overall well-being of balance.
Wow. Now, I think Cheryl might have missed this at the start, but she did ask, did your parents encourage you as a child with your gift?
No. My mum did everything in her power to stop me using it. Everything in her power to stop me. She failed.
Obviously, because we're here today.
Even up until even when I was in my 20s, she was still endeavoring me to stop me to go on this journey.
Wow.
Yeah, even in my 20s.
And it's amazing that you've kept strong. You must, like you said, you knew your path that you had to take.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been great that you've done this, because we can ask, like, at what age did you decide that, do you know what, I'm going to actually use my gift and help others? Not necessarily the readings at the moment. What I'm on about is because you actually offer classes to people, and you do quite a lot of that during your week. You dedicate a lot of time to helping people that don't understand their gift. And, you know, so where did that idea come from? What made you want to do that?
Well, I always knew as a child that I was going to use this in later life. I knew it. I knew about mediumship as a child, you know, so I understood what it was all about. I knew I was going to use it. The natural progression was, once I had felt that I had got enough experience under my own belt, and that wasn't, you know, I went to the College of Psychic Studies in London, and that's where I did my formal training. A lot of people say, well, I'm natural, you know, I'm intuitive, you know, I've never done any formal training. That's fine. I've got, you know, don't have a problem with that. I went there because I knew that I wanted to work professionally. And so, you know, I studied with other very, very reputable mediums over a long period of time, and sat in their development class. So to really, really learn how to, you know, develop the mediumship and to be able to use it, you know, effectively at a later stage in life. And so, you know, it was when I gained that experience, and then gaining the work experience and the teaching experience, that then, you know, probably about 20 years ago, that was when I set out to start my own development classes. And I've actually been teaching without stop now for 20 years.
20 years.
So, yeah, but I was calculating the other day. I went, Christ, I've been teaching for 20 years non-stop.
And do you have to adapt the learning curve with each student? Like, because everyone has different learning styles. But do you find that there's different types of mediums then? Like, I know like people say like clairvoyance and things. So do you adapt yourself to the person that you're dealing with, or do you do it as a group?
Yeah, so I generally have a group of people, say around about 12. I've got 2 classes. One is called Living with Sensitivity, and that's where we go on a kind of beginners to more intermediate route, where we are exploring ourselves, exploring the world that we live in, and we are starting to develop those intuitive abilities and start to harness them. I've got another class which is all about spirit communication. That one, to come into that class, you've got to know how to make spirit communication, whether it's through mediumship, through clairvoyance, however, but you have to be more fluent, because I'm bringing guests in, for, my sitters to work on. With the student, every student is approaching the situation from their own point of view, from their own life. Some people may come to this because of grief. Some people may come to it because of trauma. Some people may come to it because they have always been plagued by the paranormal. And so when I'm developing my classes, I always have an interview process. If anyone rejects my interview process and goes, why do I need to be interviewed? I'll reject the student. The reason why I do that is I want to know a little bit about the student. Why are you coming to this process? What are you looking for from it? And, are you going to be committed to it and your journey anyway? And if they are, then I know I have somebody that I can work with.
And that's great that you got that screening process, because you can make the right decision. But on the flip side of it, have you ever had anyone approach you asking you to help them to stop having these abilities?
Yeah.
And is there a way that they can stop?
No.
Like switch?
No.
Really?
If you are hypersensitive, you are hypersensitive, and once that door is opened, because you've opened it, nobody else, it can sometimes be hard to shut it. So it's finding tools. You can never disconnect from it. Remember, if your spirit is connected. The only way you could do that is by severing your own spirit, and that ain't going to happen. So you have to find ways to disconnect yourself from the experience by trying not to focus on it and listen. So when I'm teaching a student, I always teach a person how to go to themselves and the earth energy first before we go to spirit. Same as your car battery. Think of your car battery. You put your red lead on that terminal, you're going to get lots of sparks, aren't you? And eventually you're going to damage the car battery. If you reverse it though, and you then put the earth lead on first, then the red lead, you've got a balanced battery. Now, us human beings need to be exactly the same. So every time we become emotional for whatever reason, overwhelmed, feeling anxious, it's our red lead going on the battery and sparking up, which is also connecting us to spirit. Whereas if we go to our earth lead first and our connection to ourselves, our connection to the earth, the battery's balanced, and then we'll have a balanced connection to the spirit world.
Wow. So it's all about that balance. And for you then, because you're open, you're doing your thing, and you've been doing it for a number of years now. But what about when you just want to be Paul, not Psychic Medium Paul? Is there, I'm not saying do you switch it off completely, because you've made that quite clear you can't, but what do you do when you need that, just your time, just for you, and not being attached to any kind of spirit?
So I'm in 2 halves. I'm Psychic Medium Paul, and then I'm Paul. Anybody that I'm meeting for the first time outside of any professional environment, they only get to know me as Paul. anybody who introduces me outside of a professional environment as psychic medium gets reprimanded severely. Yeah. So people meeting me outside of my professional environment will only ever get to know me as Paul. That way I can never be drawn into situations that I can't control, such as maybe someone draw me into a conversation that, oh, Paul, I have spirit around me. Can you help me? Can you do it? And yes, of course I'm going to then talk to them and reach out to them because they've asked me. But what that might do is it then might reconnect me to my own psychic centers and then connect me to the spirit world where I don't want to be, because I'm needing to go to Tesco's and go shopping and go to whatever other shop and do loads of things without now being bombarded by the spirit world.
Yeah. And, you know, do you find that quite easy then to separate that now?
Now I do. Yeah.
And
earlier on, no, I couldn't. Now I do. Yeah.
And what way did you learn to do that then? So what is so say if you're having a day as just Paul, like before you go out or anything, is there something that you do, like a meditation or like ground, or is it just I'm going out as me and that's it?
Yeah, I'm going out as me. That's it. I have boundaries. In fact, I have anyone who knows me will tell you I have very strong boundaries. And so I always look at it this way. You can never turn the volume knob completely off. Yeah. But what you can do is you can learn to turn it down to about number 2, maybe number 3. You never want it off completely because you want to be able to listen to your own intuition. And if we're listening to our own intuition every day, we are being surrounded by messages. They're very, very subtle. But if we learn to recognize the psychic messages, we realize that we're actually giving ourselves very strong messages about how to handle situations, whatever they may be. Yeah. So if you turn it off completely, we've disconnected from all of that. Yeah. Whereas if we have it at about 2 or 3, we have a conscious awareness of it. It might be then that, we might have a higher awareness. So we need to turn it up. So if you look at it as a dial, 0 to 10, depending on where I am, what I'm doing, is where the volume knob will turn up to.
Okay. And have you also had to teach yourself to be quite resilient in this field? Because I'd say, like, some of the readings that you must have come across over the years must become quite emotional, especially if you're, given a reading for someone that's lost a child, someone very close to family. How do you deal with the emotion side of it? Because, I can imagine. I'll be honest. I went to like a festival of the unexplained back in September, and I have never had a reading before. And the gentleman doing the psychic medium night, like the platform night, he touched on things that no one would have known, and I got quite emotional. But. One thing I wonder, how do you deal with like do you have to be quite strict with yourself about not showing emotion or?
Yeah, I have a rule. That's why I have a professional office. Yeah. And most of my work, 1-to-1, is done in my professional office where we have professional boundaries. It's the same as if you was going to see a doctor. Yeah. So that whoever is walking through my door comes into a very comfortable and safe environment where at never any point do they feel threatened or vulnerable. Yeah. So as people's lives come out, and this is where we get the critiques of mediumship, who don't realize it's all about healing. People think, most people think, you're just going for a bit of entertainment, am I going to meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger, that kind of thing. A lot of people don't realize that, the difficulties of mediumship, it can open doors into the sitter's mind that can be very, very traumatic for them. You are not a counselor, but you are skimming the edge of it. Yeah. And sometimes people, well, within the reading, you will discover deep, dark secrets within people's lives. And because of that, they can feel vulnerable and exposed. They may break down and cry. They may become fearful of a communicator that's trying to come through and reach out to them, because there was trauma between those two people. And you've got to really know what you're doing, because you've got to keep that person safe. So you're wanting to be compassionate to them. You're wanting to show love to them. But the rule is you must never save them. Yeah.
Okay.
You can be supportive to them, but you can't save them.
So with that being said, then, doing your private readings is one thing. Do you change the way you do your readings on an open platform then?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
will you? Yeah. So what is your way of doing the platform compared to like the private readings? I get that.
Right.
What kind of things would you do for an open platform?
Right. So a demonstration of mediumship is exactly that. It's demonstrating mediumship. Yeah. Nothing more than that. Yeah. And with this is where over my lifetime I've been very fortunate to I've worked with some amazing people that have worked with me on my presentation, because there's nothing worse. So you've got an audience of, I don't know, just like 50 people in front of you. Yeah, there's nothing worse than perhaps if the medium is talking to that one person, and maybe there's a 10-minute message there, maybe it goes on a little bit more. It's only natural that the entire audience is going to switch off and disconnect. Yeah. So when you're doing a presentation on stage, you're trying to bring the whole audience into one person's story that they've never met. Yeah. And you're trying to do your best to bring people into that story without overexposing them. So I always say this is a demonstration, and if I start to feel that it's going too deep into your personal life, I'll even draw back. Yeah, because I don't feel in a public arena we should be there to expose people. Yeah, we can have a laugh. I can be quite entertaining when I work, and we can have a good laugh. And that's what the evening is about, is having a good evening out whilst getting the messages from spirit without making anybody feel vulnerable in that process.
And that's amazing that you're able to adapt yourself, because it's got to be quite overwhelming at times, because you're walking into a room with potentially 50 people that, a lot of people will be coming to this because they want a reading from a specific person, So what preparations will you make? So, a lot of people in the audience are going to be joining us on the 15th, where we've teamed up with you. But before coming into the location, what is your preparation that you're going to be doing to prepare yourself for that evening then?
So a lot of people, well, first of all, throughout the day, I'm going to be very aware that I'm going to be working. So everything that I do throughout the day will be in preparation for that evening. I'll be very aware of my diet. So, for example, if I eat anything too heavy or too close to the actual time of working, my body vibration will lower because I'll be heavy. Yeah. So that's out the question. Any food has got to give me a higher vibration, make me feel good. So it will be small amounts, leading up to it. Probably once we get to about 4 hours before, I'm probably not going to touch food at all.
Wow.
So then the next step, once I've kind of, done that preparation throughout my day, is that most people might think, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive there. And you might think, I'm going to play spiritual music to relax the mind. The exact opposite. I'm going to have, pumping loud dance music on of high energy. Yeah. So I've already done the mind preparation. I'm going to have pumping loud music, which is going to be high energy. So by the time I get to the venue, the music has changed my vibration to a high vibration, as opposed to relaxing the mind. I'm not doing meditation. I don't need to do meditation in that sense. I need to have high energy. So the music I'm going to play will equivalent to high energy. Yeah. So by the time I'm walking into the venue, I'm already ready to work. The only thing is that once I'm in the venue, I do have a rule that, I make it clear, and I know we've already discussed this, that once I arrive in the venue, then, I'll be polite. Hi, how are you to, the team? But then I'm away from the audience. And again, during the break, I'm away from the audience. And the reason why I do that is, one, I can't be influenced by anything that I'm going to potentially overhear. And two, I can't be influenced because I'm now open at that stage, or more open, being empathic. I could start to feel and pick up the energy of people around me and start to carry that, which I don't want. So total separation until the end, when then I'm quite happy to chat to people and, on a more personal level.
Yeah, I think that was the one of the first things that you said to me when we first started talking about doing this platform night. Was one of your first rules was, when I get there, stick me in a back room, find me a back room and leave me there. And I was like, wow. But when you sort of explained yourself, it sort of covers you as well, because then no one can say that you're being influenced by mingling. And it is a great way to sort of prepare yourself as well, isn't it? So you're going to be
absolutely.
So as we said, for anyone that's joining us on the 15th, and I know Daniel's in the room, Daniel Winter, who is the owner of Paul to the Paranormal. He's really excited. He's most probably just seen his comment. We went away for a weekend, and my choice of drink is a Bailey's, and no one seems to be able to. I like a Bailey's. Apparently is a bit more of a, not a manly drink apparently, but but yeah, so that's the way you want to wait. You're going to separate yourself, but towards the end of the evening, Paul will be around to have a little chat with everyone. But during the actual presentation, there's going to be no mingling with Paul. He'll be in the back room, and then he'll come out and do his thing. And then, we're really excited for that. Not only do you do the psychic medium part of it, or you've also been out on paranormal investigations as well.
Yeah.
Do you go in totally different to being a psychic medium? Is that very different to how you investigate then?
Yeah. You're working with a different vibration. So whenever I go to an allegedly haunted location, I'm going in as the observer. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what I'm walking into, so it's always the observer. I never interact with people. A lot of times, people are wondering why I'm not interacting. I'm not calling out. The reason I'm not, and maybe I'm hanging back, whether we're on a public event or, maybe it's more of a private team. I don't know. But the reason why I'm holding back and not doing anything is I'm being the observer, because I want to know what I'm walking into before I react to anything. So it's a very different vibration, because you are on a haunted location. You could be potentially working on multiple levels, and that can stem from the earth itself, from the ground in which the dwelling has been placed upon, where psychic energy could seep up into the fabric of that building, causing the haunting. Are you dealing with a haunting where there has been trauma, loss of life within that dwelling, and individuals have now trapped themselves within a timeline? Are you working, and this is where sometimes maybe some investigators don't even realize they're doing this, but working mediumistically. So as soon as you start calling out, you're working as a medium. You're calling out to spirit. You are inviting yourself to be a conduit for spirit communication, and you now become the paranormal medium. Whether you realize it or not, the moment you are saying, is there anybody there? Is that a lady that's there? Is this the lady that was with us last time? You are communicating mediumistically. And so I call it the paranormal medium, not the spirit medium, because you are, interacting in that way. And you are hoping that spirit, wherever it is going to indicate to you via, through some kind of mechanism, or it may even attempt to make communication through the investigator themselves, through their own spirit. And so, I'm sure maybe you've been on investigations where, you might have gone, oh, something's not right here, or you felt a bit swayy or whatever. Yeah. And not realize what's going on. So, yeah. And of course, then we go up to another level where a spirit may have had an association with that particular building, but has completely transcended into spirit, but are willing to come back through and communicate in various means to the team or the people investigating, to reach out to them. And then it goes on to a whole nother level of, what has come in from outside, or what has been brought in by other means that may have a much deeper meaning to the investigation.
And when you're on an investigation, we're separating the mediumship side to investigate. Do you feel that you get a bit of a different response? Because we're dealing with spirits that have been like attached to the land, the location, and sometimes they don't want to communicate, so they could be quite, what I would say, an angry spirit. Do you feel that you get a different response to when you're doing the mediumship side of things?
Now, here's the thing, though: are they angry or are they frustrated?
Okay.
Yeah, get where I'm coming from here.
Yeah.
Is it the fact that they are genuinely wanting to communicate? And is it the fact that they're just frustrated because we can't hear them? And we don't know how to communicate with them, because with the greatest respect to many paranormal investigators out there, they may not have the ability to attune to their mind, in the way that perhaps a spirit medium would, and that spirit, that person, is trying to reach out and can't understand why we're ignoring them and gets frustrated. That frustration may lead to anger. And then when we experience the cold spots, or we feel as if something's been thrown, touched, maybe one of the instruments have been set off, is it them just merely trying to reach out to us, out of frustration and going, for Christ's sake, why can't you just bloody hear me? I'm here, for God's sake. Stop calling me. Stop calling. Could you imagine being in the room? Imagine us now, me sitting here and you're right in front of me going, Nando, oh, you're gone. Yes, exactly. You've got black screen. Nando, he goes, it's going to wind you up after a while. So,
no.
You see what I'm coming from?
I can understand. Yeah, I can understand totally. I never thought about it that way. You think of it as an angry spirit. Just to keep on the theme of the paranormal investigation side of it, there was a question in the room by Haunted Huntings. They said that they saw a video where you got essentially possessed in a castle. Can I ask, was that spirit or something else much darker that made you hit the camera?
So that was an investigation at Hurst Castle I did with Tony Ferguson once, and that was actually during the daytime, and we had the castle entirely to ourselves. There was nobody else around, and I was in this kind of round room. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember too much about it. I can only remember what I saw on video. And Tony said, I'm going to go to another area. I'm going to leave you here to do the investigation, or to do a load vigil, and I'll come back. Okay, no problem. However long it was, I don't know. Tony came back and he said, how was it? I said, nothing really happened. I said, it'd been pretty quiet. I said, I was calling out, but nothing really happened. Nothing, really kind of as if I was picking anything up. I said, I don't think there was any voices. I said, it could be, but you know what happens when you watch the video back? Suddenly there'll be more on the video than there would be, audibly in that way. So that's how we left it. We carried on investigating. We went home. And then that night, Tony said, just to let you know, I'm billing you for my camera. I said, what are you on about? You're billing on my camera. And he said, yeah, I'm billing you for my camera. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, just speak English so I know what you're talking about. And we had a bit of a laugh and banter between us. He said, yeah, he said, you remember when I left you and doing that lone vigil and you said nothing happened? I said, yeah. He said, I'm watching you now. You have suddenly changed. You've looked straight at my camera. You've walked to it and you've whacked it. I know nothing about it. I knew nothing about it.
And was that quite? Did you watch it back as well then? Like,
yeah, I was horrified. I wouldn't let him show it. I would not let him show it. I was quite horrified by what I saw. Not in a scary way, but I was alarmed by it because I didn't realize it had happened. And the reason I was alarmed by it, I suddenly realized my boundaries must have been down, and that happened without me realizing.
And the fact, because we can tell by speaking to you, you don't have that sort of temperament in you to go and do something like that. And that must have been quite a shock to your system to see you walk up and literally.
Yeah, I was genuinely shocked. I was mortified. I was kind of like, oh my God, I've allowed that to happen. Oh my God, what's just happened? And to this day, you know, we tried to replicate it where I was in control, and we could never replicate it.
And the second part to that question, do you think it was something darker then, like not so much a spirit, something evil maybe?
Yeah, it definitely, it was, it's hard to explain what it might have been. I don't think it was anything of any ill intent, but it was definitely something that was stronger than a normal spirit because it punched its way into me, and that doesn't happen.
Wow, that must have been a total shock to the system then. Like,
watch it back. Yeah, I know it's gone out there, and I know it's kind of, you know, circulated, and I did allow him to put it out there after a while, but you know, when, you know, initially I said don't let anyone see that. And so sometimes when media outlets are asking for you know footage and stuff like that, I say to him, no, don't release it, just don't release it.
Blimey, that must have been a scary moment, you know, undeniably.
Yeah, to suddenly realize that I was out of control and anything could have happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just the thought of it. And like you said, to watch something back that you had no recollection or no knowledge that your whole body was doing something. You know, where do you think your mind was then? Like, do you ever think back and think, you know, how can that happen in that way?
Here's the thing, Nando, is that, you know, and this is where we measured this in an intuitive reading. I will never remember my readings. I never remember my clients. I spend half my life, if they come back as, you know, to me again, apologizing to them because I don't remember them. I don't remember the previous visit. I certainly don't remember the communication that took place. I won't remember what happened on the 15th, you know, within a couple of hours of it finishing. So what that is because what's happening is I'm creating a space within my mind for spirit to step in and endeavor to take over the conversation, but not complete control. I've still got some of the control. And so because these thoughts, these experiences are not my experience or my memories, my mind doesn't hold on to them. So in the same way that this entity of whatever it was pushed in, I have no knowledge of it. I have no, because I wasn't consciously communicating with it. I have no idea what it wanted, what its intent was, or anything else.
Okay, that's scary. That is something scary. Also, another question.
I've got more scary stories than that.
Do you know what? Maybe we need to do a part 2, and we'll do like a night of scary stories with Paul.
Yeah, we'll definitely. I've got quite a few scary stories I could share with you over my 30 years of doing this that will make your hair turn white.
I just need to prepare myself for the scary stories.
You need that Bailey's. You'll need that bottle.
Yeah, I'll take the whole bottle with me. Going back to the audience, Abby asked a question. Where is your favourite location that you've investigated?
Ooh. I've got so many. It's a hard one. The most interesting one was going out to Bran's Castle in Transylvania.
Oh wow.
And I was taken out there by a group of investigators, and we had the whole castle to ourselves, locked down at night. And, Dracula's castle, as it's more commonly known, it's set on a mountain. It's the whole, the whole picture of it. And the night that we went, there was a thunderstorm. So we had lightning crashing down over the castle itself.
Wow.
So that didn't help. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's one of the most interesting places that I've ever been to.
Right. And
I wouldn't say the scariest, but the most interesting.
The most interesting. That's amazing. Another question I did want to ask is just popped into my head. We're talking about the ability to connect with spirits, especially yourself.
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, you've broken up again. Sorry.
Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear now.
We're talking about connecting with spirits.
Yeah.
Is there a certain time after someone has passed away that they're able to connect with you? Is there like a period where the spirit can't come through and connect with, or can they pretty much connect with you straight away, do you think?
It depends on the individual spirit and their circumstances. I've known some spirits to come through within hours of their passing, and the sitter hasn't even known that they've passed, or they've known that they passed, but it was only a few days ago. We haven't even perhaps had the funeral. And then you'll get others. So my grandfather, my aunties went to spiritualist churches and mediums for 40 years, and he never, ever came through once. And then one day, after they had even passed over to the spirit world, he came through to one of my students, and I didn't even know who he was.
Oh, blimey.
So, down to
that's
the individual, really.
It is. And again, we're talking about a lot of people that are faced with grief of losing someone. They want to have that closure, but sometimes, like you said, sometimes they don't get it. But that's not necessarily meaning it's not because the spirit doesn't want to communicate. Is it because you think that, do they move on to somewhere else? Like when we pass away, I don't know if you can answer this, but what you think, we pass away, do we choose to stay around so we can communicate, or can we move on to somewhere else?
In brief, otherwise we need another 5 hours for this one.
Okay.
If we pass through natural means and we have a well-balanced mind and we're happy to let go of the earth plane, then as we become clinically dead, then the spirit cannot hold on to physical existence, so it transcends. Why can't we see spirit? This is the big question. We're going to look at it this way. Well, why can't we see ultraviolet light? Yeah, we can't. Our minds are not attuned to be able to see ultraviolet light. So as the spirit leaves the physical body, it is in a different state of frequency in the same way as ultraviolet light. Yeah, that we can't see. So as it transcends, we may have a intuitive feeling that it's there, but we can't actually see it with our eyes. Okay. So the spirit then transcends into the spirit world, and is perhaps helped over by loved ones, family members, to then help the spirit to remember the spirit world, which I believe is the real world compared to the earth plane, which is the fabricated world, which is a physical world for the spirit to have merely physical experiences. It's almost like this world is the playground for the spirit. Yeah, because the spirit can have experiences that they can't have in a physical way in the spirit world when you're of energy.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And then obviously we've got all the different kind of levels and, within the spirit world as to where the spirit might transcend to.
Well, that's a great way of looking at it as well, to how things happen. haunted huntings, I've asked another question about the castle. Have you ever returned to this castle since that happened, or do you plan to return there in the future?
Yes, I've been there a few times, and I don't know, guys, whether you kind of missed what I said there. We did go back and try to replicate, what had happened to me, but it never happened. It never happened again. So I've been. I can't remember how many times I've been there since, but probably a good 3 or 4 times, but it never happened. Nothing like that ever happened again.
Do you think? I know you were saying earlier on about it, the spirit could have been frustrated, but on the other hand, do you think the spirit could have known what your capabilities are and was trying to get you to potentially like try and scare you to the point that you would leave? Do you think that they were threatened by you in any way?
I've analyzed the video myself, and I've watched it back and watched it back, and I've watched my body language, my actions. I don't feel that there was anything there that was of any kind of what I would say real malicious intent. I don't know what the action was, and maybe because obviously by the time Tony came back, it had released me. So I have a feeling it happened just to knock that camera, or it decided it didn't want to be filmed. I don't know. Normally, like I say, I've got an awareness. If I'm doing a paranormal investigation, I'm not at that level, and I've got an awareness of what's going on. There, I didn't have an awareness at all. Maybe if we do part 2, I will tell you about another investigation, very similar, similar thing that happened on a much bigger, on a more of an extreme scale, where they did actually get everything onto footage. But that's a longer story. We'll explain that if we do part 2 later on in the new year, perhaps.
Yeah, I do believe that we need to do a part 2, but we'll do a bit of a scary story time with you, Paul, and maybe we can get some of those clips and sort of share that, show them on the show as well. It's been absolutely great learning from you and listening to your experiences. What I would like to do, because you do offer a service as well, you do offer readings, and also you got your teaching. Can you just let people know where they can find that and how they can get in touch with you if they want to approach you about that?
So the best way to find me is on my website, which is www.paulcissell.com. That's the best way to find me. You can find me on social media, so you can come to my page, which is Paul Cissell's Psychic Medium. Yeah, you can come and follow me there. I generally respond better, if people are reaching out to me via the website, because it's one place that I've got the communication, as opposed to several places that I've got the communication.
No, that's brilliant. And what I have done, everyone that's watching, if you go into the description at the bottom of Paul's bio that I've put in, there is all his links to his website as well. So if you want to get in touch with Paul and have a private reading, definitely go ahead and get in touch with him. If you think that you have some abilities that you want to explore with Paul, get in touch with him. But the links are in the description there. But just to end on, really, the 15th of December, Portal to the Paranormal, Paul Cissell, we're doing a platform mediumship night, and we're really excited. We've got a few elements of the night. To start with, we've got some vendors that are going to be selling some nice little gifts for Christmas. We've got teas and coffees for sale. So we would definitely love you to come and join us. I know there's a few of you that are going to be there on the night. The doors will open at 6 o'clock, and Paul will start his presentation, I believe, is around 7:30. If I've got that right, I've got to look at all the stuff that I've written down.
I can't remember. I'm just as useless.
With so much going on, it's hard to remember everything. We've got everything written down, but I've not got that paper. But it's going to be an absolutely great evening. It's going to be fun leading into Christmas. And it'll be great to, see everyone in a different kind of event. Not doing paranormal investigation, but meet and greet with Paul afterwards. He's going to have a chat with everyone. But to start with, there's no contact with Paul until he's done his presentation. And also we do have a Christmas raffle that's going to be going ahead. We've got some great prizes that have been donated to us as well from a pet photographer. They've donated some prizes there. We've got Paul, he's kindly donated an hour free private reading. And just to ask them that, would that be something that you're going to be doing online with them, that they can, would it be an online
yes,
reading?
I do readings online. So people can either see me in person at my studio in Portsmouth, or it can be arranged online as well.
So thank you very much for donating that prize as well.
Oh,
I'm sure that a lot of people will want to get that, and we've got a lot of other prizes as well. You know, what we really want to do is stepping into Christmas is just do something different, have a lot of fun, and hopefully, you know, we'll see you all there. But for now, Paul, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. Part 2 with Paul, we're going to do a scary story night. So if you want to see that, put a yes in the comments and we'll get that arranged.
Yeah, I think we can blow all of these horror films out of the water that night.
But if that's just a taster of you knocking the camera off without even knowing about it, you know, I will have a Bailey's there just to keep me going. But do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure, not just talking to you this evening, but getting to know you to the lead up of this event. And you've been so, you know, open about doing this as well, because some people are quite, you know, they like to stick to their roots, don't they, and keep to themselves. But we're the team are all excited about the evening, and I know a lot of the people that have that are going to join us. It's going to be a great night. But yeah, you know, thank you so much, Paul, for tonight.
No, my pleasure. It's been great fun.
Great.
And, you know, thank you for inviting me on, and obviously, you know, thank you for speaking to me in the first place about the evening of mediumship and approaching me about it. So yeah,
it is something that we're really excited about, like I've said, and hopefully in the future for people. I know there was some people that made contact that wanted to book on, but it was sold out quite quickly, to be honest. But you know, me and Paul have said in the background, if things work out and we're both happy with everything, this could be something that we can do in the future as well. So if you've missed out on this one, hopefully there will be future events where we can team up with Paul again. So if you've missed out now, look to the future, because I'm sure we'll be doing this again. We had a great response. So hopefully we'll do another one with you in the future. But yeah, but absolutely great. I'll let you get on, Paul. I'll put you in the back while I just finish off.
Okay, no
and
worries.
then we'll have a brief chat. But thanks a lot again, Paul, for joining us and giving us some of your experience.
Good night, everybody, and thank you for having me.
No problem. So what a great chat with Paul. Just touching, you know, I think we've just touched a little bit of his experience and what he's done over the years. And there's a lot more to learn. Abby, I think you're right. The horror story one, well, not horror story, but the scary stories, I think is a definite. We must get Paul back on to listen to more of the scary parts of it, of what he's experienced. But as I said, to everyone that's joining us on the 15th, the doors will be open at 6 o'clock instead of 6:30. This gives you guys a chance to come and say hello to the team. We're all really excited about seeing everyone that's joining. Have a look around the vendors that we've got put in place, some teas and coffees as well, and just have a bit of a mingle before Paul comes on stage and does his presentation. You know, so we're really excited about ending the year on this event. And again, anyone that's watching that did miss out on the event, don't worry, because I'm sure me, Paul, and the team can arrange something in the future. So just keep looking on the website between Paul's Facebook page, because he's been updating what he's doing throughout the year, and also ours. And we'll keep you posted. But for now, I'm going to say my goodbyes. Again, thank you for everyone that always joins in and all your support. We do appreciate it. But we will see you, when we're back. The 18th of December, actually, we do have Cindy Kaiser joining us from the Hustler Files. So that would be a great chat. So come and join us for an interview with Cindy, and that'll be the last one for the year. So I'm getting my fingers in the way here. Yeah, so come and join us for that. But for now, goodbye everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.